Good morning. It's Bradley McCalister, founder of Spiracraft. How is everybody on this fine Monday morning? Yes, indeed, I'm here. Am I bleeding? I don't know. You guys tell me. Yeah, just a little bit. It'll heal. I hope everybody's well. I was kind of rushing around this morning. Explanation, not excuse. I just got home about 8:30 this morning. But hey, we're ready to have fun. We're going to use a new sharpening jig, the Tru-Grind Sharpening Jig. We're going to turn a crazy big old bowl and have a lot of fun. So good morning, Art. I see you in here. Good morning, Don. Good morning, Frank. Glad you guys are in here this morning. I'm going to run over to the control room here real quick. Hey, Dwayne, good morning. And make that screen bigger so I can see it. I'm going to pop you into the overhead here for a second. On top of that tool and tool jig, that is the woodcut Tru-Grind sharpening system from Woodcut Tools. And let's see if I got everything else hunky-dory here. I think so. What else has changed? Oh, another thing that made me a few minutes later than I wanted to be. I made an upgrade to the software that you're seeing, how I run the live streams with a product called vMix. And I, of course, didn't upgrade the access key before I got in. And so when I was ready to go and I flipped all the switches and it said access key been deleted, I said, oh yeah, I upgraded the system, which means the good side of that, I'm taking my watch off, the good side of that is I will be able to have a whole bunch more inputs into my system. It's one of the things I've been wanting to do for a long time. And so I'll be able to do a lot more with my feed now. I had just a super basic system to get things set up over the last year or so, and it was time to upgrade. So I'm really looking forward to that. Let's see, what else is going on? It's cool again. It's nice. It's wonderful. I need to plug in another light. Like I said, I've been kind of running around. I dropped the grinder this morning. It didn't hit me on the head. And I was on that camera still. Brian, good morning from North New Germany. And Lorianne's in here. Good to see you guys. And why is my camera blinking in my overhead? Gremlins. Gremlins. I almost had time. Michael Lang, good to see you, buddy. I almost had time to get a fourth camera hooked up. I just switched you over to the grinder station there. That's what you should be seeing now. I'm on number 2, which is the end camera typically. And you'll be able to see when we go to sharpen here in a little bit. So I got lots of new plans and angles coming, all part of my upgrade to the software. I actually have enough cameras to have another camera over there, but I didn't have enough time. Seems that somebody has been down on the coast for the last couple of weeks. I started to say last couple of days, relaxing and having a nice time with my wife. It was great, and now it's time to get back to work. Speaking of work, upgrades, all that good stuff. Let me think of the dates. I'm going to have to think real hard because my brain isn't fully functioning. Product showcase coming up in 2 weekends. Not next weekend. Don't have a calendar in front of me. I'm going to say like Friday, 12, 13, 14. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 2 weekends from now. Product showcase, 3 full days out here in the studio. Going through all the products. I know everybody enjoyed the product showcase I did in the spring. We have new products to show, new system or upgrades to the system. So I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a great time. So today, I didn't set up the blank, the one that I had thought of. It was really big. It was about 24 inches, maybe 26 inches outside. And I grabbed it, I brought it in here, and I said, that's just way too big. So I have another blank, and here she is here. Piece of poplar. You saw me post that picture a little while ago. It's been wrapped in cellophane for the last 6 months. It's green. It's going to be kind of maybe spalty, kind of maybe punky. We'll see, but I needed a piece of wood to go back and forth with. Right now I've got it on a faceplate. I just got it big enough. Even this one was too big to fit on the lathe. I just got it trued up enough to get it to where it'll spin on the lathe. So we'll true that up and turn it into a bowl today, along with working with the wood cut. And I'm going to put this in the overhead, the Tru-Grind Sharpening jig. And this thing's pretty cool. And as you like to say, in full true transparency, I just took it out of the box this morning. I had planned to get time to work on it, set it up late last week. I did not get that time. So like I've been doing recently with some of the new products, it's a learn as I learn kind of project, and that's a good thing. Let me pop this up. Let me come over here, because I think we're going to be able to see this jig better when I go to the end camera, which is now an overhead camera, and I learn where to put things. And I got a light that's pretty bright in here. I'll get this figured out in a few minutes. Again, this is brand new. Let me turn this right side up for you. That light might be just too much. I may end up turning that light off. If I block that light, that might be what I need to do. Hang on just a sec. I love adjustments on the fly, you know, guys. Let me turn this light off. I think it might be a little bit better. I know my arm's in the way. I apologize for that. There we go. Let's see how that looks. I think that's going to look a little better. Still kind of shiny. It's a shiny piece. And the camera, I just got to remember where the camera is. All right. So I've got a bowl gouge in here right now. This is an upgrade, if you ask me. And what I've done, and let me zoom out here. I think I can do that because I'm on the regular. So on the left-hand side over here, I left the regular one-way system set up. So the one-way Wolverine system is set up on the left-hand side. And over on the right, I've got the Tru-Grind from Woodcut with their guide and their slide rail. So I've got one of each in here today. Partly because of time, and partly because I wanted to show you that you can actually use, and I know this is kind of far out of the picture, we can use this jig if you have a Wolverine system already and you find, and I think you will, that this jig might be better suited for your needs, then you can still use the jig in your Wolverine system on your grinder if you didn't want to make a whole lot of changes. Okay? So we're set up over here. And we'll get this. I just grabbed this first gouge that I could and tested to make things see how they did. So I'm going to come back over to the center for a second. Couple of features about this jig that is different than the one-way. So I've been using this one-way for 10, 15 years, whatever, how long I've been turning. I've been using this right along. And if I put the two, if I go to my overhead and I put the two side by side, you'll see there, I'm going to take this tool out of here for a second. You'll see they are similar in nature, but yet different. And as always, if you have questions today, do not hesitate to ask. Now, one thing I did not do, and I will end up doing, let me do this. I'm going to zoom this camera in for a few minutes. I'll have to zoom it back out when I actually start to turn. But I kind of want to show you some of the differences and the notching feature that's in this. And since my production manager is not here, as usual, and I'll just leave my step stool over here for quick camera changes until we get ready. But that gets us a little closer into the system. Now the one-way has the notches back here, as you well know if you have them. And I see my mom's in here. Hey Mom, hope you're doing well. And they have a wing nut over here. The Tru-Grind has notches, but what makes theirs different, they have a nice knurled bolt here. And I'm going to get this up even closer, as close as I can. And if you can see, where's my handy ice pick? This is one of the most important features right here. This is a cog system, if you will. So this is an indexer, cog style, so that you can exactly repeat. If you want to change your angle, okay, this locks right in to any of the notches. And when we look at the other side, you'll see that there are numbers from 1 through 8. Okay? Now I just very quickly, and there's a little pointer, a little index pointer right here. Hey, good morning, George. Little index pointer right here. And so just what I did super quick this morning is I threw that bowl gouge in and kind of set it over on the system, on the jig, and to find out where, like, what's my number for the grind that I have. And I found that I was right here at this number 6. One side or the other of that, right in there. Okay? So that's where I will set it back. I was in the 6 range. Sorry for wiggling that around. And so that's a great reference. So now I don't have to wonder. I'd never change the arm for that very reason on my one way. I've got the little notches to line up, but they're not nearly as exact. So I am super stoked about this index system. And I'm going to drop that back on the 6 and tighten this back up. And it's got a nice nut here, handle, tightening device. Now, so that's the indexing system, which is unique in and of itself. The other really nice feature, up to 1.5 inch tool can fit in here, and not just round tools. So our one way that we've used forever holds round tools. It doesn't hold skews, scrapers, anything of that nature. Well, this will take a tool and keep everything in here. Up to 1.5 inches, that's 1.25 inches. Okay, pops right in there. 1.25 inch roughing gouge, and we still have room for the 1.5 inches to go in. So we can sharpen our big roughing gouges in here. Obviously we can't go there with our one way. That's my roughing gouge. Where's the scraper? Land of scrapers. Scraper can come in, okay? Same thing, it'll register on the flat. So those are the two biggest features that I instantly find appealing, very appealing, and well worth investigation. And picking one of these up is now I can put virtually all my tools into this one jig. Okay, and like I said, I just took it out of the box, and that's no lie. So you could ask my wife. I just took it out of the box. I had it with me. I had it with me this weekend. Hey, my dad's in here. Good morning, Pop. I had it with me this weekend. Was going to mess with it. Climbing lighthouses and having cocktails in the shade by the harbor. Ended up spending a little bit more time doing that. But hey, you could understand that. So the kit, the system that is available, it comes in a dual setup. So you've got two. I just put one rail on today, again, just to kind of get started. I literally haven't read the directions. May reference those. I know Dan Hewitt from Woodcut probably is going to drop in here. And if Dan hears that I haven't even made it all the way through the directions, he'll probably give me a lecture this afternoon when we meet. We meet every week, putting everything together. So, but we'll get it worked out, all right? And so we want to go back and forth and play with this. And like I've said, it's brand new to me. It's super simple, intuitive. I mean, it took me 30 seconds to kind of stick a bowl gouge in to figure out where I was at. as far as setting it up over on the grinder, there's a couple of things that I found out right away, and let me pop back over there. And let me know if this light is I turned the light off, but let me know if it's not so good. So when I set up my rail system, you know, this isn't the perfect camera angle, but you get the idea. Right over here on the platen, which you can see in the shadow, that bolts it down, I need to put a bigger platform around this piece. All right, so that's just a matter of remounting the grinder. I need to move it to where I can go further out, okay, further away. So I need to mount my mounting base further out towards the edge. So I need a little bit bigger entire system here, and that's no big deal. I do have a whole nother grinder. I point with my finger like that. Hey, check that out over there. But I needed to put a shim in it to get it up to the right height, so I didn't have time for that. But I checked this will be good today. So this is a 5/8 Carter & Son, and I just dropped that in the gouge. Now they recommend a 2-inch stick out. I've always used the one-way V-notch as my reference, and so for today, to replicate the grind, it's to stay pretty close to what I have. That's what I'm going to do. I know I've been saying I was going to have things, a grinder set up to where you can see the sharpening, and finally that is coming true. So next week, actually I won't be here next week, I'll be on the road, but the weeks in the future, let's put it that way, I'll have a dedicated camera for the grinder. So what I'm doing is I'm just setting my stick out over here for right now, using the same method I've always used, this length, which if I put a tape measure on it, it is about to the bottom of the bevel. It's 2 1/8, so it's a little long, but that's just where I've always been, so I'm going to stay there for now. Another big difference you'll see here in the one way, you've got this V-notch, okay, and the wings kind of come up. This uses the one way, or the woodcut uses a socket, and so you have total range of motion any way you want to go. And when you're sharpening skews, etc., you can actually be on your side and nothing's in the way. So with the socket system, and there's another one up under here, right there you can see, you get a lot of range of motion, and that ball stays right in the socket. Okay, so one jig will sharpen all your tools now, repeatability index, etc. So I'm going to stick my head in the way for just a second. No, I'm not. I'm going to change the cameras. I don't want you to see back of my head. I'll just pop over here. I'm going to look and make sure, because I don't have all my numbers dialed in just yet. Okay. So I'll pop back into the shot there. So what I did is I checked my bevel touching onto the wheel, and I checked my wings. Now I'm set just a little bit different. This grind right now, the way the jig is set up, it's going to make my wings just a little bit taller. And if I zoom this in, like I had talked about, so my bevel set is fine. My wing is going to be just a little more vertical. It's going to take a little bit more off the bottom right now, not the end of the world. For everybody who wants to know what's the angle, my tools typically have been 45 degrees, 45 degree bevel. That's just kind of where I've always been. Haven't really changed from it. Not to say it's right, wrong. It's what it's been working for me for 10, 12 years. So I'm super happy with that. So I've got my stick out. I've checked my angle. We have reference numbers here. All right. Now I don't have in my head. I don't do metric in my head. But you can reference that. And there's also a platen system, which I do not have in here yet. So you can reference how far out you've gone from there. So let's go ahead, and I've snugged that up. And we're going to be in and out of here today. And this is the 80 grit wheel. So the other wheel is my 180. But I'm okay with the 80 grit on here. And I know I'm going to be changing these wings, so we're going to work on the wing a little bit. And I'm not even going to worry about the tip yet. And let me know if you think I need to turn that light back on. And obviously I have the tool out of the handle. You can see how easy it is for me to just jump back and forth on here. And I am on a CBN wheel. And Spiracraft is adding CBN wheels now along with this jig system. Finally putting CBN wheels into the store. So again, I've got a little extra time here to spend because I'm changing the wing profile in the verticalness of it. That's not even touching the top of the wing right now. Nothing's happening up there at all. Getting close to the top of the wing. Again, if you have any questions or want me to show you in a different view, please put it into the chat column. Whether you're on YouTube or on Facebook, your comments should show up. Again, normally if I was just resharpening, it would, you wouldn't be here nearly as long. But since I'm actually changing the walls, takes a little bit longer. This left side is real close. Now I'll get a little bit more on the right, so I'm going to spend a little bit more time over here. There's no sparks coming over the top yet. When we see sparks come over the top, we know that we'll have gotten up to there, and we are super close. There they're coming over the top now. Let's do our other side, get it pretty close. Okay, looking pretty good. Couple of rolls around the tip. The tip angle, the bevel angle, should have been quite close to start with. So a little more off the bottom than the top, but not too much. So it's kind of funny, I know you can't see it, but there's a window to my right, and now that it's getting to be fall, the sunshine is shining through that window and goes right into my eyeball. So I get a little green spot there. And we are real close to being where we want to be. See that little flat spot, that one little dull flat spot right there? There it is. So it's really easy to see where you're at, just looking for your spots. When everything's uniform, you know you're good to go. And I see one little spot over on the top of this wing right over here that we didn't quite get to. Let me see if I can show you there. See right there on the top of the wing. And again, I'm changing the profile, so it takes a little extra time. Steve Bryce, good morning. Hope you're doing well, sir. So right there, you see that doesn't match the rest of it? Okay, so that hasn't actually been sharpened yet. Okay? This jig is really easy to hold. I know I'm zooming in there pretty tight. just a fuzz more over here on that notch. And when I go drop back, I get the sunshine in my eyeball. Okay, so I'm go ahead and turn this grinder off. I got one little teeny spot right there on the very nose. Okay, we are good. Take a little bit of that nose off of there. Changing the shape, my nose got a little long on the tip. Don't want to get that hook building in there. That's getting real close. Okay, good deal. So what I was doing, find a safe place to hold this in the frame, is right at the very tip. You can see how that the grind rolls around to the very tip. I had a little hook, so I took that little hook out of there, and so now we are nicely sharpened. Super easy. So my reference point is I'm on number 6 on my setting. Okay, I used the one-way Wolverine for the measurement. A stick-out block on the bench right here will take care of and make that super accurate. Again, after I ground it, I remember I said I was about 2 1/8 before. We'll pop into the overhead here. I'm still right at, I mean, it was a long 2 1/8, and now I'm a short, oops, sorry, 2 1/8. Don't mind that green tape measure that'll do weird things in the chroma key. Okay? So, again, that's a 5/8 bowl gouge. That's, pop up here. That's a go-to bowl gouge for this project. And so that's why I thought, well, I'll use that, and we'll jump over and resharpen it, this piece. It is green, but it will get dull. We know that our tool doesn't stay dull, or doesn't stay sharp. It stays dull, that's for sure. One of the biggest things that happens to people when they first start turning is they don't realize how often they need to resharpen or clean up the edge. Not reprofile, not change the profile, not spend an amount of time on the grinder there, but just freshen that edge back up. Be it on a CBN wheel with a touch, be it with a diamond card. I had one floating around here. Here we go. You can touch up with a diamond card just to keep that edge. Put that burr back on there. That initial edge lasts about 15 seconds, and then it stays sharp after that, but not super sharp. The better the steel, and this is not a class and a lecture on steel and different metallurgies. I can speak this morning. But a cheap tool, if you've got a whole set of tools from Harbor Freight that you bought 6 tools for $69, you're going to get really good at sharpening because they won't hold an edge very long. They'll just be carbon steel. They'll be inexpensive. Hey, will they work? Absolutely. When they're sharp, they'll cut sharp as sharp. But you'll be over there putting that edge back on them quite often. Okay? So, now that we've got kind of this set up here, and I'll pop you back into overhead because I'm going to change the camera now. So you can see, again, the jigs are very similar. They're about the same size, but much more feature in the woodcut tool and much more range. Pretty cool. I'm excited about this. Okay, so I'm going to leave. I got to figure out how to do this without looking crazy because I need to focus on the bowl. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to set these off to the tabletop. And I'll actually jump up here for a minute. Again, any kind of questions, fire away. because I don't have auto zoom cameras in here, I'm looking at new cameras and features and how to keep the focus. The biggest thing is keeping the focus. But I want to get this piece of wood on here. This thing is soaking wet. It's on a little faceplate right now. So here's my dilemma. I don't have my end camera now to show you the end view. If I show you the grinder view, because I wasn't able to get that second camera set up. So what I might do, because I really want to show you things from the end, and I think it's really kind of a matter of just a quick turn over there back and forth. So if that's okay with y'all today, a couple extra minutes when I go to sharpen and changing the camera will allow me to show you everything that I'm doing. Now, like I can see in my monitor that my overhead shot is not, there's nothing here. When we look at the overhead, you can't see the overhead shot at all. So I need to move my headstock over enough to get that in the shot in a decent way. And then we'll focus these cameras and set them on manual. So that takes care of that. And this, so this is a good sized piece, and I'm going to snug this up. That's good. Lock down my headstock. Right there. Okay. And I'm gonna go. I love Micah. I've had bad luck with my sharpening like that. I do better with the table. Do I just need more practice? I've had bad luck with my sharpening like that. I do better with the table. Can you explain the table? What you're referring to the table? I mean, like sharpening by hand on a stone or something like that. Pop me another extension to that statement, explaining the table, and it'll help me get my head around it. So I'm going to move this camera over here, change it so we can see the work happening there. I promise you 4 cameras, actually more. Hey, Scott Hampton. Great to have you here again. God, this place is a mess. And I'm also going to turn the light back on. You have no idea how excited I was when I upgraded the software to where I can have multiple, I can have like 1,000 inputs now. Okay, so we're going to lock the focus on that. No, this is stuff you don't need to know, but it comes with it. If you leave it on autofocus, they can't focus. So we put it on manual there. And the same thing in the overhead. So I'm going to pop you to the end camera now. And number 2, on the grinder with adjustable flat part. Oh, so a platen. When you have a platen, what you mean is this part, just the flat platen. Those guys. That's what you've been using. Yeah, once you get the other jig figured out, whatever brand it is, they're super easy, super repeatable. So it's just a matter of getting the understanding the relativeness of where things go. The big thing, probably the biggest thing, is this length. Make sure that from the bevel back to the and I'm wearing red, I see here. I'll put it up here. Make sure that this distance, you always do the same. This is your stick out distance. Whatever it is, if it's 2, if it's 1.5 inches, if it's 1 3/4 inches, whatever you end up using, make sure that this is always the same. Okay, that's one of the biggest things to helping you keep that angle be consistent and the bevel grind be consistent. Okay. All right, so let me put you in the end camera so that I can jump up on my stool here, and OSHA can't say that I did something wrong, unsafe. Ha. Oh. And I'm going to back that out a little bit, because I want you to be able to see the, as we turn on this guy, it will get smaller. And now I'm going to lock the focus there real quick. And hopefully it's focusing on the right spot. Good deal. Okay. It really is not very big place in here, and if anything is not exactly out of the camera, it shows up. So like I said, you would never know that just past my arms is stuff. You can see it kind of over here. Over here is not too much further either. All right, cool beans. So this piece is still out of balance. It's soaking wet. You should have seen it when I started. I actually started just, I got so much stuff over in the other shop where the bandsaw is that I couldn't cut the corners off, so I just turned them off. I just made sure that nobody was here when I did it, because it was ugly. And we're not turning very fast yet. Let's see what we can do. We've got, it's going to shake. So I went past that initial vibration, the bad vibration, because we want to turn this piece as fast as we can. That's about 495, so 500. And this lathe is not bolted down. There's about 535. Hey, Mary Alice, I love that piece you posted in the last week. That was beautiful. Fantastic. So I'm about 500, and my whole goal here is, because this back end, back in here, that's where things are all still out of whack. Okay. And hey, look, the stop button cover cap fell off of my controls. We need that. All right. So we've got our freshly sharpened tool. We have a piece that is still way out of whack, and that's why I chose this, because we're going to have to work on this. And this is the outside edge of the tree, okay? Which means sand, dirt, grit, hopefully no nails or spikes or anything like that. But working out here, and I'll show you an overhead as well, something to keep in mind. If you're harvesting your own wood, this is going to dull tools, even though this is green. Okay, this is soft and it's green. It's dirty. It was drug around the log yard, God knows what all. So you're going to have to sharpen your tools more often when you're working with a piece that you're on the outer profile and edge of the tree. And that's why I decided to choose to use this, so that we could use the woodcut sharpening jig more often, jumping back and forth. Again, we're going to have to play with a little bit of camera stuff this week, but I thought this was a good way to turn you one of these pieces and be able to show the jig, trying to balance out the two. Got it? Okay. So, I guess I need to put the handle back in a tool, don't I, Bradley? Again, this is a Carter & Son 5/8 bowl gouge. M42 high-speed steel with 10% cobalt. Fantastic tools. Got their aluminum handle. Also bringing in a new handle, talking about tools, with woodcut. Woodcut has handles, the ProForm handle, and they have another smaller handle that goes with a little mini tool, a mini carbide style cutter tool that I can't wait to get them in here. I'm so excited. So I'm going to be bringing some other handles in too from the good folks at Woodcut. Even well-known woodturners Mike Mahoney and Stuart Batty still only sharpen by hand. Well, yeah, they do, and that's all they do. And they've been doing it since they could walk. All right, let's see here. I think I'm set. Face mask, which is a mess. I think we'll find a paper towel real quick and clean that out. I know Stuart says that his 40-40 grind can only be done by hand. And some people, I know Ron Brown has made a jig that he says will replicate it in a jig. I don't know. I actually have it. I don't know where it's at, to be honest. So it's hard to say if some of those can be. It's faster. If you can sharpen by hand without a jig, it is absolutely faster. If you're not into production, you don't need to produce 100 pieces a day. Us mere mortals, hey, jigs are fine. They work great. Okay. Let's attack this beast. It's going to be a mess. I'm going to put you in... I think I will put you in the overhead camera to start with. And what I'm going to do is work away, take these corners, make this profile match this profile. That's what we have to do, is we have to blend all this together. Now this wood is, like I said, it's real soft and green. But it's also really dirty. So we'll start out here. Let's lower that tool rest. I actually was using a carbide tool to beat it. That's as low as that'll go. It's that banjo. So we'll just start to carve some of this away. It'll get real bouncy when we get out here. Now this stuff stinks. This smells like a wet dog. Couldn't sharpen it without your jigs. Yeah, I know what you mean, Scott. So let me pop you to the end. And another question that beginning turners, people just starting out, they always have the question of, well, how do you know when your tool is dull? And the short answer, kind of a smart aleck one, which would be the one that comes from me, is it doesn't cut like it did before when you sharpened it, right? And it is noticeable, you can tell, but it does take a little while to get that understanding. And I could be going uphill or downhill right now, either way. Right now I'm just choosing to stay this way, take this corner off. I will turn around and go the other way here in a second. But if also, from a camera aspect, when I come over here and come from the inside, well, then I start to get in your way. Okay? So this is going to have some mold in it. Again, I just wrapped this in plastic. I wasn't trying to spalt it. I wrapped it in plastic and then I got busy. And also the other thing that I'll tell you guys is one of the reasons I push in, even though I'm going to get a better cut pushing out, is when I push this way, I'm throwing it up against my green screen, my wall, and it gets all wet and gets the wood chips all over it. And it also throws towards the computer. There's computer monitors and stuff over here. Over here is just a wall full of tools. So I'd rather throw the chips over the other way. So let's see, we took some more corner off it so we can get some more speed up. if we don't shake the cameras now. I just jumped to 650 and a whole bunch of water started coming out of it that wasn't coming out of it before. Okay? And cables falling down and all kinds of things in here. That's just from the vibration. So what I'll do for a minute, I'm on the front camera where you guys can see. I'm just gonna go ahead and let the water, so I can stand over here. I'm gonna sling some of this water out, and then I'm gonna cut from the inside out. And I'll look at the end camera, looking up at the monitor. And it looks like I'm not getting in your way, so I'll pop you there. And I'm going to check my speed. As soon as I get the chance, I'm going to speed this guy up. When you use these outer edges of the logs, you're getting every piece of wood out of the tree. Now, I've got some interesting pattern there right in here. What I have to do is get rid of all the flat spots. Okay. Let's put you in the overhead, keep you in different areas. Nice big, everybody loves the big curly shavings coming off. Now another thing I'm going to point out real quick here, you may or may not have noticed I didn't even bother to grind the heel off on here. This is, as far as I'm concerned, it's a roughing gouge. It's not detail gouge, not finished kind of piece or tool. So I wasn't really worried about that too much. I can actually turn over and just use that wing. And that's another thing that you can do if you don't want to go right back to the sharpener. So when we're working here, we're working with the tip of the tool when we're cutting with a push cut. If we want to go ahead and kind of scrape with this, even a shear scrape, we can use this wing that we haven't touched yet. And I'll change camera angle again too. And we get a nice fresh edge before we go back over and resharpen. So sometimes it behooves you to figure out the ways to get the most out of your sharpening, trips to the sharpener, trips to the grinder, or however you want to sharpen. Okay, so we're going to put a tenon on this guy. I think I got the big 130 millimeters in a Titan right now. No, in a Supernova. I've actually got a set of 3.5-inch jaws, 3 3/8 in a Titan. What else have I got hanging around here? I think I'll put the big jaws on. I'm wanting to use this Supernova more. with the big jaws. So we'll do that. Here in the end, I just make a reference. I'm going to walk around here. I still can't find my favorite calipers. So I'm just going to use a set of double-ended calipers. That's just about right. Okay. Going to rough that section out. Double check her one more time. She looks just about right. Take our tailstock away. What are we in? We're in the end camera. That's all good. I kind of like this interesting pattern here. Wish it ran all the way through. Tool wrist is a fuzz low now. We can also turn up the speed, throw some more water out of it. Alright, so the other thing I can do, I've roughed that out, but I'm not done completely shaping my profile, and we're going to make this into a basic bowl class along with sharpening the jigs. Hey, there's that compressor kicking on. I hope it's not too crazy. I'm going to true up this front face just for a little bit more balance. Again, this is green, so it's all rough turning anyway. And I'm just going to use the wing of the tool to true this face up. Not that I couldn't do it when I turn it around, but it helps me know where my top is. Let's see if we're all the way around yet. So one section right here is still not true. I don't have camera number 5, guys, is going to be the camera that shows from the other end. Now that I have the stuff to do it, we can also come in from the outside for careful and make this cut faster. Okay. Now we know where our top truly is. All right. So we can come back over here. We can take the tailstock out completely out of our way. And what I'll do is I'll finish shaping this outside, and then we'll sharpen the tool before I turn it around to make one final set of shaping cuts. So we'll jump back over, freshen the tool up, and finish cleaning up this outside shape right after we finish making our tenon here, get our rough shape like we want it, real close, and then we'll come back with a freshly sharpened tool and make 1 or 2 more passes in the rough cut world. Okay, And so let's go to the end camera for you. Okay, and the other thing I'm going to do, I want to clean up that edge just a little bit, and I actually probably can do it with this tool. So I'm going to pop you into the overhead to finish this tenon. I don't normally finish my tenon with a big tool, but today's a different day. I need to put a dovetail on it. It's a little bit hard with this grind because the wings are fairly short on the top, so I'm not going to quite get what I want there. Now that tool's dull. That's when you ask how do you know, that tool's dull. It doesn't want to cut for squat. I can also do this with my carbide tools. A lot of times you'll see me do it with my easy wood tool. Put my dovetail on there. Make sure that's concave, mark the center. Okay, so we've shaped our basic shape. It's all good. One can barely hear the compressor. Oh, I thought I was going to read one could barely hear me, and that would have been bad. I'm glad that nobody can hear the compressor because it's literally just outside the door. So let's go ahead. I'm going to readjust this camera and jump back over here and sharpen this tool again. And now it'll give us, what it'll do is give me a finish cut on the outside of my work, which will just be like one last pass, even though it's a rough turn. And then we'll have a freshly sharpened tool to jump around and start in on the inside. See the the logic here, the method, the madness, all the good stuff. Because I have a tool rack right there, is why I'm taking it out. Normally from a speed standpoint, I would just leave it in the handle, but the handle's going to hit my tool rack over here. So, my jig is already set for the right height. I guess I need to change that camera, that's all there is to it. So let me change this camera. We'll see how we do. There we go. If I get it where I can do it quick and easy like that, that's pretty cool. And that's going to show pretty good. Okay. And you can't quite see the stick out there. But I'm going to use the stick out. I'm going to use the my Wolverine for now until I put a stick out jig on here. Loosen up the thumb screw. This knurled top is really easy to work with. Okay. Double check. Pop over here. And I'm getting another controller too, so that I can control from more than one place. I'm going to check that nothing has changed, and as I can see, as I look at this, and I'll show you what I'm doing. Ow! I just caught my wire. How did I do that? Oh well. Tell you what, I'm going to fix that real quick too. I guess it's been on the outside all this time. Hopefully that's not going to gargle and scratch while I put it back in my pocket there. So what I'm doing, you'll see me, I'm just leaning my head in, looking at the profile. Okay. So pop you back into the overhead or the end camera there. It should be on. Yeah, it's on now, Art. I see it out there working. Okay, here we are. And we are in the end camera, or the overhead grinder camera. Yeah, I got caught on the tool wrist. Appendages that are in the way. So now, if you remember, before I ground because I was changing the shape of the tool, right? Well, now we're just gonna clean this up. We're gonna just hit one wing, hit the other wing. Once more. Round the nose. And this is where having the stick out be identical is key. If the stick out is not identical, you won't grind it exactly as you did before. And mine was not exact. And all I'm really worried about here, for the most part, is the tip. And as long as my tip, which is where I'm really working, is good, right there, the very tip of the tool, right up on the tip, that's good. Okay. I didn't use the wings much, so they're not dull. Okay. So, I mean, that's all it took in the jig. And again, with a block, a stop block, it would have been exact, right back to the spot. Pop that guy back over there. Now I will readjust this end camera back to what we're doing here. It'll only take a minute. I've got a whole bag of cameras over there. These things have been with me from the get-go on the woodworking shows when I started doing my camera work, using cameras out there. There we go. It does not. This is crazy. That does not look like a piece of poplar right in there. Not really. It's kind of cool. This definitely looks like a piece of poplar that's been sitting out in the weather right here. But anyway, we've got a nice finish here as it is. Now we've sharpened our tool back up. And it only took, other than me tearing out my wire, only took 30 seconds or so. Pop my tool back in here. I'm going to lower this back down. So just one, hopefully just one final pass right across here. Again, it's a rough turn bowl. We're going to leave it oversized and let it dry in a paper bag. And then we'll come back to it. So let's put a face mask on. And then we'll attack the inside. And I'll do the same thing. So I'll rough the inside, do all our work, and then when I'm close to being done or ready to call it good, we'll freshen the tool up again. I'll show you to take, if I don't get caught, about 30 seconds or so to freshen that tool up, maybe less, and go in and finish our cuts. And so the principle is exactly the same if the piece of wood was dry, and it would actually be even more important to resharpen the tool if it was dry and you were making your final finish cuts on a dry piece. Okay. Into the end camera. And also, now that it's relatively speaking balanced, we'll get a better cut. We turn that speed up. We'll throw a little more water out as well. So that's about 1,000 RPMs there.
Throwing out plenty of water. I'm going to actually move this around so it's easier for me to come all the way around the corner. And the other thing, just because, I'm going to clean up this tool rest real quick. Just a pass or two. Okay. Nice light pass, freshly sharpened tool. You get wonderful shavings. When I had to stop there, coming around the corner, that top edge does a little funky thing there, but we'll take care of that. I actually want to change this profile just a little bit right up here. Drop back down for a heavier cut. When you almost double the RPMs, it cuts so much nicer. And with the freshly sharpened tool. Okay. Nice, clean, smooth. Almost no tear out. Little bit of tear out right there. Otherwise, all this crazy starting to rot and spalt looking stuff. Little tear out right in there. Again, we're not going to worry about it terribly because it's a rough turn. Okay. But refresh that tool, use the jig. Took 30 seconds, short of my wire attack. We're going to pop this guy off, he says. There we go. They do spin themselves on there tighter. I wish I could keep these stripes in the top. That would be cool if that was what it looked like when it was turned. That would be a rainbow poplar kind of a fin. And actually we've got some green, which is the natural green. We've got a little bit of red in here, but that's going to go away when we turn that away. Unfortunately. Love rainbow poplar. So I'm enjoying being able to kind of show you two things at once. Keeping a tool sharp and using it to do our work and making a bowl. And the emphasis here, and that's why I kind of wrote it the way I did for the post for today's Monday Methods, which I think I wrote that post about 11 or 11:30 last night, sitting down on the coast. And I said, "Oh gosh, I got something I got to do." The importance of keeping your tools sharp, and it is so important, and we can't really stress it enough. I know there's a few turners in here who turn all the time, if not professionally, and they will tell you all day long, sharp tool is everything. Okay, and like Mike is talking about, he's has trouble and uses his his platen, which if you can get your sharpening worked out on a platen, and I'm going to show you the woodcut platen as soon as I get one in here. They call it a tool rest for sharpening. It's a very nice piece. It's well engineered as well. The folks at Woodcut, they really engineer this stuff up to a high level. They take a lot of pride down in New Zealand in really setting these tools and designing these tools, and they've been doing these for 25 years. This is nothing. This is not some new kid in town. And great folks to work with. Been really enjoying working with Dan Hewitt's the owner. He and his wife. Real nice folks. All right, we give that a spin. Runs pretty true. Now this is green, so we're going to crush it down. Again, gang, if you've got questions while I'm doing this, this is a good time. Pop them in the chat column there. Here, I have a question for you all. So right now, the chat column is on the side of whatever you're looking at. If you're in Facebook, it's over on the right-hand side in the white column. If it's on YouTube, I don't honestly know exactly what it looks like. I do have the ability to put the chats, all the questions, etc., over on the screen. So let's say I could put them over here, maybe in this area, or I could put them over here. I'm trying to wait for the difference in speed, but I could put them in the main screen, on the main screen. I would love to hear your feedback, excuse me, on if you'd like to see people's questions on the main screen or leave them over in the columns on the side. Looking for feedback on that? Let me know what you think. Because like I say, I'm going to be going in and making some changes. So we can do a lot of different things. And that screen, I'm letting that crush and shrink in there. Okay. Not the best tenon I've ever cut. Pop you in the overhead there real quick. I've got about 1/8 of an inch. It sits a little funky up on the bottom there. You can't see it. I hope it looks all right. It's here's the deal, and you can't quite see. I think I want to show you this because it's important. I'm gonna pop it off of here for a second. Because when your tenon mounts in your chuck, that's so important to your grip. So I'm going to set this up here. So this gap, that's your perfect circle. Turn it up like that. And that's about a 1/4 or so. It's a little big, but it's okay. But what I want you to see is, if you see this shadow line you see right here, so that's what got my attention. And I was afraid that my chuck was sitting, my tenon was sitting down on my bottom of my tenon down here and not sitting on the top of the jaws here. And that's not the case. When I look closely, there's a tool cut that goes in about a, oh gosh, I don't know, 1/16 of 1/16, and then it touches just inside there. And so it is touching on the top of the jaws, and then when I look down inside, my toothpick will go behind. So I'm not sitting on the bottom of the tenon. Okay? So that's really important, because if I was sitting on the bottom of the tenon, this thing would wobble and rock all around, and that would be bad. Okay? As far as I'm concerned, that was worth taking a couple of minutes and explaining. Double checking for you, or showing you. Get this guy back on here. Snug it up on the lathe. Okay, I was turning 1,000 RPMs before. First thing I always do, I turn my speed back down, start over fresh. Start at 0, release the spindle. There's 800 for, I've got a divot in here. Excuse me there. There's a chunk in there still. 800 is fine for what we're doing. There's an edge right there, and that's going to make the tool bounce right there. We're not making the finish cuts in here, so we're not worried about it being perfect. But we do want as much speed as we can get. Okie dokie, as they say. So again, we have essentially a freshly sharpened tool. We made just a couple of cuts on the outside with it. Okay. We're going to clean up the face. Set the wall thickness. Again, this is a rough turn. Where's my fancy green tape measure? We want to leave this about 10%, give or take. This guy's down to 12 inches. So a fat inch wall thickness. Okay. Everything's locked down. Life is good. About 800 RPMs. Just going to drag across here with the wing. Clean this up. Now I could have set up my bowl core and I could quickly core this out and get one more bowl out of this. Actually, I could get 2 more, but that's not today's lesson. Okay. Pretty colors right there. This green, this is a nice color. You can see my screw holes from the faceplate right in there. I want to zoom this in some more. I'm gonna take a minute. I'm gonna put this in the overhead for you guys, and I'm gonna zoom that other end camera in a little bit better. Hopefully the focus will hang in there. Get you right up on this. This is a pretty piece of wood. People scoff at poplar sometimes. I'm not one of them. That is a pretty piece of wood right in there. Got some interesting grain going on. Okay. We could dye that and get all kinds of crazy things to happen. So we said we're going to leave about 1 inch or so. So I just come in, set that parameter. Now I can work my way in, I can work my way out. My tool rest is just a fuzz low. Raise that back up. It's always fun to see what emerges down inside the piece. That's the thing I always cry about is you see some nice colors and some things happen and you know you're going to turn it all away. Always makes me sad. So when I'm pushing, think about our tool sharpness here. When I'm pushing, I'm cutting with the tip and say over here to 1 o'clock or so. But when I pull, if I pull back out, I switch sides of the tool and I'm 11 o'clock off the tip in the wing. So I can bounce back and forth on my cutting edge to make it last longer before I go back over to my jig and sharpen it back up. So again, a lot of it has to do depending on how often you want to sharpen, how much mileage you can get out of your tool, because we don't want to take more steel off than we have to. I'm sorry, I was going to say I have to sneeze, and I didn't get to the microphone in time. I apologize for that. I was like, oh, here it comes. Comes a big sneeze. Need to get my hand over the mic. Didn't make it. Apologies all the way around. And if you're here and you're new to this, maybe you're just starting to do bowl turning, you'll see, get to sit over here, the tool is actually locked in quite well. It's on the tool rest, locked into my body. I'm not moving it away, because I'm leaning on this pretty hard. Face mask down, start my cut. Handle of the tool goes down. Now as that wall gets steeper here, I have to reach a little further around. Okay. Pop you to the end here. Nice pattern in there. Okay. So we just want a uniform thickness here. We got a little bit more to go. Move our tool rest in. Take our speed up a little bit more now. A little bit out of the center. And we can actually do that to set our depth. If we want to measure that or check it, that should be about right for uniform with our wall thickness, pretty close. So in this case, because the wall has started to get more vertical, you'll see the tool is starting at this angle over here, and it's not in my body. And I can't reach that far over the tool rest. I could, but I run into my controller and a lot of different things, and so I can lean here and bring it over so the tool is still controlled. All right, let's do one more from the end before we stop and sharpen the tool, clean up the tool. Scott says, with my poplar pieces, I find that most of the darker colors, like the greens and blues, will turn brown over time. Absolutely, they do. The plus side is that the white stays white. Absolutely, again. Even the color change of pieces will still look beautiful. You're absolutely right, Scott. I've got some rainbow poplar that was really pretty colors, rainbow colors, and they finally did change, you know, to white and brown and shades of brown, but they're really nice looking. Still to this day, great contrast. Okay, one more pass around here. Okay, Now, is my tool dull? No. Is it duller than when it was fresh? Yep. And so looking at the time, 12:35. So we want to go to the grinder again, take you through the steps of working with the jig. I'm making a big mess to even find the jig here. All right. Pop my tool out. Drop her back in the jig. I'll freshen it up one more time. Like I say, a lot of people kind of look down at me. I was doing the woodworking shows. I've had poplar out there a lot, and Roland Johnson was next to me one time in Tampa, and he came over and he said, "Bradley, what are you turning?" He says, "It smells horrible." I said, "Well, it's just poplar." He says, "It smells like a wet dog." I said, "Yeah, but it's not as bad as is it big leaf maple, box elder. That stuff really stinks when it's wet." Okay. So let me adjust this end camera one more time. See if I can find a way to do it quickly. I've got it zoomed in too, so maybe we'll just leave it. If it'll focus. Let's see if that focuses. No, it won't stay focused there. Back it out just a little bit. There we go. That's not too bad. All right. So we just pop her in. Again, I'll set my stick out using that for the moment. And you can also, and let me put you on, and if your stick out isn't exactly right, you can adjust it in the tool, in the jig. If you look at it, once you've put it on the wheel, and you think it's not exactly right, and you can, the other thing you can always do, you can take your marker, if you want to make sure that you're right on the money and remove the least amount of material, take yourself a marker, do the tip. You can do the whole thing, but do the tip and a wing with a black marker. Yeah, Scott says camphor will clear your nose out real quick. Absolutely. So without even turning it on, I have magic marker on the tip, and I can just take and turn the wheel by hand, a couple of passes, and I can look and see where that's rubbing, and that is doing just about exactly what I want. It took all the marker off right to the top, and if I check the wing, it should be the same. That's pretty good. Let me check way back on the wing. So you can always double check this stuff, especially back here. We'll see if things are still the same. So that removed an even amount of the marker. So this is going to take the least amount of material off of our tool. So this jig has allowed us to, because at $90 for a piece of steel, tool steel, you don't want to be grinding on it. You just want to sharpen it. Okay? Now my tip and my left side is good. I have a little bit of a marker still right there. So my stick out wasn't exactly the same, but it was real close. And now I'm right up on the money. Okay? And the beauty with CBN wheels is you don't have to dress them, because they don't wear out. Shouldn't stick your finger into it when it's spinning. So the CBN wheels, they're a wonderful thing. If you don't have them yet, they're worth the money. I strongly encourage you to go out and get some. at least get one. If you can only get one, get yourself a 180 grit. And now I'm going to adjust that camera back over to the end. Let me change it though before I do that. Put you there. There we go. All right, smacked the end of my finger pretty good. I was trying to point to the CBN wheel, and of course, in my illustrious fashion, managed to like touch it, which you don't really want to do. I think we'll be okay. Looks like the flow has stopped. Not the first time I've done something silly. Don't stick your finger into moving objects. Okay. We're going to come in here with our freshly sharpened tool, just clean up the inside, probably clean up the rim a little bit as well. Let me pop you onto the end camera there. Just to make sure everything's, again, it's a rough turn. It's going to get turned again. Adjust my tool rest to where I can do the rim here, as well as all the way down into the center. I can actually move that over. I've got plenty of tool rest. This is a big one. Just make sure it's not touching anywhere. Okay. And off we go. And we're in M curve. I'll try and keep myself out of the way. Light cut. See that nice clean shaving coming out of there? Freshly sharpened tool. Finger hurts like the dickens. And we will leave her right there. Cool beans. That hurts. Don't do that. I'll pretend to work through the pain. So we were able to resharpen that tool. What took 30 seconds, 45 seconds with our woodcut jig. And if I want to change to a different tool, so let's say I want to come in here and work on my spindle gouge. All right. I know that 6, I'm jumping overhead here. 6 is my number that I like for that 5/8 bowl gouge for my roughing work. So when I change that to work with the spindle gouge here, I can go right back to it. Dad says I should know better, but yeah, I should, Dad, but I don't. Bob says, I always get tear out on the inside of the bowl just below the top rim. What am I doing wrong? Tear out, it's probably just on the end grain, and because you're real vertical with the I'll grab this. You may be rubbing the bevel, and it may be lifting up your wood and giving you tear out on your end grain, especially if your walls are vertical, just below the top rim. You say, yeah. So think about, try a different angle. Make sure that you're not rubbing your bevel too hard, because you may be thinking that you're over here. Let me grab the bigger tool. You may be in your mind ready for this approach, where when you're on the wall, your tool needs to be like so that your bevel is still relatively angle is correct, and then as you come around, you go right to where you should be. Again, it's also the bowl, you're getting end grain up here, and when you're cutting across the bottom, it's all face grain. Okay, in a face grain bowl. So let me punch the end here. See if this makes sense. On this end and this end, I've got face grain, or end grain, excuse me. And here I have face grain. So when I come down the wall, and let's say my tool's not sharp or within proper angle, I'm going to tear those fibers instead of cutting them. As I come across the bottom with my tool, this is all face grain wood in here. And so it's going to cut nice and easy. All right? So you're actually cutting two different grains. End grain on two places when you're at the top edge of the bowl. Like say when you're over here, I'll go over here. But when you're coming across the bottom of the bowl, you don't have any end grain. It cuts much cleaner, much clearer. So if your tool, again, that would go back to making sure your tool is sharp. The sharper the tool, the better it's going to cut that end grain cleanly. Scrapers, carbide cutters, especially if they're not super fresh, they tend to pull that grain out. So if your tool isn't sharp, when you go to cut that end grain, as you start down the wall of the bowl, you're going to get that tear out. So try sharpening up your tool. We'll have, Spiracraft will have the woodcut jig in the store real soon, and in the next couple days. Yeah, Bob, that probably is what's going on. And, you know, a jig, again, like the Tru-Grind would help you keep that tool sharp frequently. Whether you're using a jig or not, if you're sharpening by hand, the key, again, is a sharp tool. The sharp tool makes the big difference in cutting, especially that end grain. And the throbbing and pounding has started to subside. Yeah, my dad says, yes, I should know better, and I do know better, but I do a lot of things that I know better about, and that I still do dumb things. We sometimes get older, but not smarter. But I'll be okay. I'll be all right. I mean, we got a couple of minutes here. 12:48. Worst one, I've got lots of blood stories from turning. I was doing the woodworking shows, which I've spent 12 years doing now, I think. And I was waving a tool around, just like I'm standing here now. I was talking to the audience, and I had just sharpened up a big bowl gouge. And I had it in one hand like this, and I was being very expressive like this. And that tool wing went by this thumb and just laid that thumb wide open. And I looked around, my toolbox that's over here, you can't see, was right behind me. And all I could find was some duct tape, and I duct taped it, or it actually wasn't duct tape, it was masking tape. Taped it all up real quick and kind of went on about my business. But when I looked down, I could see that blood was dripping out of my finger onto the bowl. Jerry says, don't try to catch up with me, Bradley. I'll try not to. Matter of fact, Jerry, it happened at that symposium or woodworking show in Charlotte the first time I met you, Jerry. You were just across the way, and people across the aisle from me told me that I lost about 4 people with the blood when I sliced my finger open standing there waving a bowl gouge around. So don't do that. You know, again, wood turning is fun, and it is safe, assuming that you don't do dumb things. And what gets us is just like that. So we all wear our face shield, right? And we make sure things are tight and cut right and all those things. It's the little dumb things that will get you not paying attention to something else. In my case here, I was just trying to point at a wheel that was still spinning, and I tried to point a little too close because the camera wasn't there. If I'd gone down below, I would have just trimmed my fingernail and it would have been all good. So anyway, lots of fun, but you know, you want to pay attention, and obviously, you know, since we're talking safety, since I'm the one who's bleeding, you know, don't have a beer, don't have drugs, or even new prescription medication, etc., stuff like that. Be real careful with that stuff. But I would love if there's any kind of questions as we wrap up here. with using the jig. And again, I should show you, if I can find a way, I'll just pull it out of here. If you find, and I would say you will find, that you like the indexing function of the Tru-Cut, if you have a Wolverine system, make an upgrade here. It still works in your V bar. You just get the beauty of the indexing and 1.5" tool capacity. Big deal. Skews. Do I have a skew floating around here? Do I have a big skew floating around here? Not sure where it got to. Don't use them a lot. But the same thing with, I had showed you earlier, with your big flat tools, basically a skew, that will fit in this that other jigs that use a round profile will not do. Pops right in there. Up to 1.5 inches. Pretty cool, pretty cool. And so you'll see this all the time moving forward now, because like I said, I am adding the extra cameras to the system, along with the inputs into my computer part of the system, to where you can see. So I'll be able to show you more things. I'll also be able to show you this angle coming in back here to the back side of the piece. So I'll have a camera up over here. Looking forward to these new changes, these upgrades. I'm always trying to bring you more information and in the best presentation that I can, and also in a real life format. Other than the blood part, I can leave without. Don't be stupid, Bradley. Okay, so I just took this out of the box. Never used it before. I was live. Very intuitive, very easy to use, not difficult to figure out. I love the adjustments. So like I say, I like to show real world, not edited out, and all that good stuff. Thank you, Lan. I appreciate that. I'm glad you came by. Thank you, Art. Like I say, I love doing these lessons. I mean, I gave up vacation on the coast at Hilton Head in a place where there was nobody in the marina. It was fantastic. But no, I wanted to be. I always like to be here and do these things. Thank you, Scott. I appreciate that. Like I say, I have fun. If I wasn't having fun, folks, I wouldn't be doing this. I wouldn't be out here. I wouldn't do the woodworking shows. I wouldn't do trade shows if I wasn't having fun and helping folks out. That's what it's about. I mean, I got to make a living, but I do it for the fun and the enjoyment. And when I help somebody, that makes all the difference in the world. It's a great deal. Nice venue, need practice on my CBN wheels. Dave from Washington, absolutely. Mary Alice, you're quite welcome. Thank you for coming by. Always appreciate it. And like I said, as I'm wrapping up, guys, sales pitch, product showcase 2 weekends from now, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, whatever those dates are. I don't have them in my head or a calendar in front of me. I'll be out here for 3 days going through the products in depth, all the different products that Spiracraft carries. So, and I'll have specials. That'll be a Zoom also style. Whether I use Zoom or Google Meet, so we could actually talk back and forth. It's a great way to get information about the tools, and I can show you whatever you want to see. So it's fun. I'm looking forward to it. Micah, you're quite welcome. All right, how am I doing for time? 12:54. Any more questions? Pop them in there if you have them. Otherwise, those of you who hang out with me regularly, you know where I'm going. I'm going down to the Mexican restaurant, and have something to eat for lunch. And since we had to get up early this morning, I might have to take a nap this afternoon. Who knows? Thank you, everybody. I'm going to leave you with this end shot of this pretty bowl. I'm going to put it in a bag when I turn the cameras off. So I'm going to leave you right there with that end shot. Take that banjo out of the way. That pretty piece of poplar. Just like that. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Bob, George. Oh, George says previous question. Fire away, George. I may not be in sight, but if you can pop your question in there, I'll stay here till it shows up. I haven't killed the feed, George. If you do have a question there, be happy to take it for you. I'll wait another. Which type of wood, wet or dry? This wood, George, was wet, and that it's poplar. It's wet, and I will let it dry for about a year or so in a paper bag, and then I will return it. Oh, which do I prefer? Well, I actually prefer. Nice voice crack. I prefer wet wood, just because I don't like the dust. And so the beauty of turning green wood or wet wood is you get rid of most of it, and then all you have to do is finish turn it. But you still have to finish turn it when it's dry, unless you want an oval piece. If you're doing a rectangular piece, a natural edge piece, you can turn it to its finished thickness when it's green, and you're done in one shot, which is actually the easiest and probably my favorite. So yeah, I mean, wet wood is just nice to. Other than getting wet, it's just so easy to turn, and then you just have a little bit. I've never been a fan of starting with a big blank of dry wood, and that's me. That's me. So I hope that helps. Thank you, Dwayne. Okay, we're going to shut her down here, and I will see you all. By the way, I almost forgot. I'm going on here, but I still have 3 minutes technically. Thursday nights, I'm out here. Come join us. You'll see the post in the Spiracraft wood and resin turning community page. If you're not a member, join. And I put the post to the link, and it's a video conference as well, where we can have an actual dialogue and discussion. I'm out here from 7 to 8 on Thursday night Eastern time. Love to have you jump in and answer any kind of questions. And I'm at the lathe. I can show you anything that you need to see. Okay? All right, gang. I'm clicking the switch. I'm out of here. And I will see y'all soon. Thank you very much.